The billionaire had spent 15 years searching for her missing daughter, but on Christmas Eve, a former Navy SEAL single father found the girl curled beside a pile of discarded cardboard behind a luxury shopping center. The child was barefoot, trembling from the cold, and clutching a faded photograph against her chest as though it were the only thing in the world that still belonged to her. When the man knelt beside her, he noticed something that made his heart stop. The photograph showed a little girl standing beside a younger version of billionaire heiress Adelaide Sterling. On the back, written in faded blue ink, were 5 words that would reopen the most painful mystery of Adelaide's life: "Mom, I never stopped looking." If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can bring people home, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so our family can continue sharing stories filled with courage and compassion. Adelaide Sterling had spent 15 years pretending she had accepted the impossible. She was one of the most successful businesswomen in America, the founder of a global luxury retail company whose stores filled some of the world's most expensive shopping districts. Her name appeared in magazines, business reports, charity galas, and financial rankings. People assumed she had everything. What they did not know was that Adelaide kept one locked drawer in her bedroom containing a tiny pink hair ribbon, a faded hospital bracelet, and the photograph of a 3-year-old girl named Cora. Cora had disappeared from Adelaide's life when she was only 4 years old. The circumstances had been so complicated and traumatic that Adelaide had spent years blaming herself. At the time, Adelaide had been going through a bitter separation from Cora's father. Their marriage had collapsed under financial pressure, constant arguments, and an ugly custody battle. One afternoon, while Adelaide was attending an emergency meeting at her company's headquarters, Cora disappeared during a supervised family visit. Investigators searched for months. Thousands of photographs were distributed. Private investigators were hired. Rewards were offered. Adelaide traveled from state to state following every possible lead, but nothing brought her daughter home. Eventually, the case became cold. Adelaide never stopped searching. Every December, she still decorated one small Christmas tree with a single ornament bearing Cora's name. She did not know whether her daughter was alive, where she lived, or what she might look like as a teenager. She only knew that somewhere in the world there was a child who had once called her mother. That Christmas Eve, Adelaide was scheduled to spend the morning at a children's shelter funded by her foundation. She had planned to deliver gifts and food before attending a family charity luncheon. Her assistant had arranged everything carefully, but Adelaide felt unusually distracted. The holidays always reopened the wound she tried hardest to hide. Several miles away, a single father named Grant Mercer was working an early shift at the same shopping center where he had found the girl. Grant was 39 years old and had served as a Navy SEAL before leaving the military to raise his son, Everett. He had lost people he loved during his years of service and carried memories he rarely discussed. After leaving the military, he had struggled with the transition to civilian life. He eventually found work in property maintenance while taking care of Everett, who was 10 and had become the center of his world. Grant was not wealthy. His apartment was modest. His truck was old. His Christmas budget was small. But his son never doubted that he was loved. Grant had learned that children did not need expensive gifts nearly as much as they needed someone who showed up. That morning, Grant had finished clearing trash from the rear service area of the shopping center when he heard a faint sound behind a row of dumpsters. At first, he assumed it was an injured animal. He moved closer and discovered a pair of small shoes sticking out from beneath a torn cardboard sheet. He immediately crouched down. A girl was hiding there. She looked about 15 or 16. Her hair was tangled, her clothes were dirty, and her hands were shaking. She had clearly been outside for some time. Grant recognized the signs of exhaustion and fear immediately. His military training had taught him to assess danger quickly, but fatherhood had taught him something even more important: frightened children needed patience before they needed questions. He kept his distance and lowered himself to the ground. He offered her his jacket without forcing it on her. The girl hesitated for several seconds before accepting it. Her eyes remained fixed on him, full of suspicion. Grant noticed the photograph in her hand. He did not try to take it. Instead, he asked her if there was someone he could contact. The girl shook her head. She was clearly terrified that anyone in authority might send her somewhere she did not want to go. Grant reassured her that he would not abandon her in the cold and that they could figure things out one step at a time. Then he saw the photograph more clearly. The woman standing beside the little girl was Adelaide Sterling. Grant knew the name. Almost everyone did. But the child in the photograph was much younger than the teenager sitting before him. He asked the girl who she was. Her answer was barely audible. She was Cora. Grant felt a chill unrelated to the cold. He had no way of knowing whether the claim was genuine. He had heard enough stories to understand that people could lie for many reasons. Yet the photograph looked old, authentic, and deeply personal. The girl also had a distinctive small birthmark near her left eyebrow that Grant remembered seeing in an old missing person poster displayed online years earlier. Grant called the authorities. While they waited, he gave Cora some water and a sandwich from his lunch bag. She ate slowly at first, then began crying while holding the photograph. She explained that she had grown up moving between temporary homes and that the adults around her had repeatedly told her that her mother did not want her. She had eventually discovered an old box containing the photograph and a newspaper clipping about Adelaide's missing daughter. She had spent years trying to determine whether the woman in the articles was really her mother. Eventually, she had traveled to the city with almost no money, hoping to find Adelaide. But she became frightened after seeing security guards around the Sterling headquarters. She had spent several days moving from place to place, sleeping wherever she could find shelter. She had come to the shopping center because she had seen Adelaide's foundation collecting donations there. Cora had intended to approach Adelaide. Fear had stopped her. Grant listened without interrupting. He recognized something in her story that went beyond the missing person case. Cora did not simply want to know whether Adelaide was her mother. She wanted to know whether she had ever been wanted. That question broke Grant's heart. Meanwhile, Adelaide was standing inside the children's shelter, handing gifts to families when her assistant approached with an urgent message. Police had contacted the foundation because a teenager had been found carrying an old photograph of Adelaide and claiming to be her missing daughter. Adelaide nearly dropped the gift in her hands. For 15 years, she had imagined hearing those words. Yet when they finally came, fear overwhelmed hope. She rushed outside. Her security team followed, but Adelaide ordered them to stay back. For the first time in years, she did not want a wall of people between herself and the possibility of seeing Cora. When Adelaide reached the service area, she saw Grant standing beside the teenager. Then Cora looked up. Adelaide stopped breathing. The girl's face had changed with age, but there was something unmistakable in her eyes. Something Adelaide remembered from childhood. A tiny expression that belonged to the little girl who had once fallen asleep against her shoulder. Adelaide took one step forward. Cora took one step backward. That single movement nearly destroyed Adelaide. She realized immediately that Cora was not the only person who had been waiting 15 years. She was carrying 15 years of fear, confusion, rejection, and unanswered questions. Adelaide did not rush to embrace her. She did not demand that Cora call her mother. She simply stood several feet away and began crying. She told Cora that she had searched for her every year. She showed her a photograph she had carried in her wallet for 15 years. It was a picture of Cora as a little girl wearing the same pink ribbon that was still locked inside Adelaide's bedroom drawer. Cora stared at the photograph. Then she looked at Adelaide. The teenager's expression changed. For the first time, she seemed to consider the possibility that she had been lied to. The authorities arranged immediate medical care and began verifying Cora's identity. The process would take time, but preliminary records strongly supported her claim. A DNA test would eventually provide confirmation, but Adelaide did not need the laboratory to tell her what her heart already knew. Her daughter was alive. But there was another painful truth. Cora had spent 15 years believing her mother had abandoned her. Adelaide had spent 15 years believing she had failed to find her. Both had been living with a lie created by adults who had made choices neither of them understood. The investigation uncovered the truth gradually. Cora's father had taken her during the custody dispute and disappeared using false identities. He had later left Cora with relatives while traveling for work, and those relatives had moved repeatedly. Records became fragmented. Several opportunities to reconnect Cora with Adelaide had been missed because of misinformation and administrative failures. Adelaide had not abandoned her. Cora had not abandoned Adelaide. They had simply been separated by circumstances neither could control. But knowing that did not erase 15 years. Cora had to learn how to trust her mother. Adelaide had to learn that she could not buy back the years she had lost. The first weeks were difficult. Cora resisted luxury. She did not understand why Adelaide had multiple homes. She was uncomfortable around security guards. She disliked being photographed. She became anxious whenever Adelaide left the room, afraid that people could disappear without warning. Adelaide changed everything. She cancelled unnecessary business travel. She moved meetings around Cora's schedule. She began attending counseling sessions with her daughter. Most importantly, she stopped trying to give Cora everything money could provide and started giving her something much more valuable: time. Grant remained involved because Cora trusted him. Adelaide initially struggled with that. She was grateful to him, but part of her felt insecure. Grant had been there during the moment Cora needed someone most. He had found her when Adelaide could not. One afternoon, Adelaide finally admitted that she felt guilty whenever Cora reached for Grant's hand instead of hers. Grant responded with compassion rather than judgment. He reminded Adelaide that Cora did not have a limited amount of love. She could love more than one person. Trusting Grant did not mean rejecting Adelaide. Those words changed something in her. Adelaide stopped seeing Grant as a reminder of what she had missed. She began seeing him as someone who had helped bring her daughter home. Grant's own life also began to change. Adelaide learned that he had spent years quietly struggling after leaving the SEALs. His military experience had made him disciplined, but it had also left him uncomfortable asking for help. He had been trying to provide everything for Everett while carrying his own unresolved grief. Adelaide offered financial assistance, but Grant refused anything that felt like charity. Instead, she offered him something different: a leadership position with her foundation supporting veterans and vulnerable children. Grant eventually accepted after realizing that the job would allow him to help families like the one Cora had needed. Everett and Cora became close friends. Both understood what it meant to have their lives changed by circumstances beyond their control. Their friendship gave Cora a sense of normal childhood that she had never experienced. The following Christmas Eve, 1 year after Grant found Cora beside the dumpsters, Adelaide returned to the same shopping center with her daughter. This time, Cora was not hiding. She was wearing a warm red coat and carrying a small box of gifts for children living in shelters. Grant stood nearby with Everett, helping distribute food. Adelaide watched her daughter walk toward him and smile. Then Cora turned around and ran back to her mother. Adelaide opened her arms. Cora embraced her tightly. There was no hesitation. No fear. No distance. Just a mother and daughter finally holding each other after 15 years of waiting. Grant watched quietly from several steps away. Adelaide eventually walked toward him and thanked him again. Grant shook his head gently, reminding her that he had simply noticed someone who needed help. But Adelaide knew it was more than that. He had seen a frightened child when everyone else might have seen a problem. He had protected her dignity before he knew her name. He had given her warmth before asking for her story. And because of that simple act of kindness, a family had found its way back together. Before we reach the final moment, leave a meaningful comment and tell us what this story means to you. Would you have stopped to help a frightened child hiding beside a dumpster, even if you had no idea who she was? Sometimes the greatest acts of kindness begin when nobody is watching. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. That Christmas Eve taught Adelaide something her billions had never taught her. Wealth could search across countries, hire investigators, print thousands of posters, and open doors that were closed to ordinary people. But it could not replace a human being willing to kneel beside a frightened child and say, through simple kindness, that she was not alone. Grant had once served in places where courage meant facing danger without hesitation. But years later, his greatest act of courage was not performed with a weapon, a uniform, or a medal. It happened beside a pile of discarded cardboard, when he noticed a trembling child everyone else had overlooked. And Cora finally understood the truth she had spent 15 years searching for. She had never been unwanted. She had been lost. But someone had finally found her. And on the day she was found, she did not just discover her mother. She discovered that there were still good people in the world willing to stop, kneel down, listen, and help someone find their way home.